Hey there. I just wanted to show you some quick stuff on how to make a pattern, make sure it's symmetrical. I was looking at your leg pattern in particular, so I'm going to kind of show you what to do. You should have a straight edge, some sort of ruler, a nice pencil to use, like this. And then I have a dull needle. It's not really that sharp anymore. I put a ribbon on it so I can tell it's not a real needle. And I use this too, so I'll show you what I do. When I'm going to do a piece, I put the ruler down like this. I hold it in place with my fingers. I use the pencil, draw down like this. Set it aside, don't move the ruler. Take your dull needle and don't push too hard because you don't want to cut through the paper, but gently score the paper exactly where you drew your line. And then you can move your ruler away. Then after that, when you fold this piece of paper in half, it'll have a natural score. It'll be easier to cut. Regarding your leg shape, I was thinking about it, and I think the best way to handle having the color break in there would be to either applique a special shape onto a general foot shape, so you get your white in a different shape, or doing a regular break like you did, I think, on your first plush that you tried. Anyway, so what I would probably end up doing is something sort of like this. Now, I'm only really kind of drawing one side because I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to explain this weird thing that I learned. I learned from a really experienced pattern maker. When you're making a pattern, you want corners like this to be at 90-ish degrees. It makes it much easier when you're sewing things together, and it'll make your seam lines go smoothly together. Same for down here. You're going to want this to be at like a 90 degree, right? So this is just a general shape. I probably will alter this. Like, I'll look at your pictures again. I'm just doing this really quick so you can kind of see how to quickly make a symmetrical pattern. So that's the shape. You fold it on your score line. And then in order to line up things, I always put, it's called a notch. So I usually do it in centers. So like this is the center of the leg. So I put one little triangle right there and then cut along the shape. Same for this. Cut along the shape. Then when I get down here, I'm going to put another little notch like that. So now we have a pattern piece that's shaped like this. If you kind of hold it like this, sometimes you can tape it and that helps you better see, but this will give you a leg shape, right? So that's a general leg shape. The back is straight because that's where our score line was. If you don't want it to be totally straight, what you can do, and I know we put the notch up here, but what you can do is add in a little dart. So let's say we're going to put a little dart in here. Now notice this right here is no longer 90 degrees anymore. So I would adjust that. I'd curve it so that you get a little 90 degree, and then curve it again to make sure that it's 90 degrees when it meets here again. I'm going to zoom in so you can kind of see what I drew. All right, so then you fold it in half again. You're going to snip off your dart. And then cut like that. So now, when I hold it sort of folded, you can see that now when you sew this dart, it'll give it a little bit of a curve. And you could do the same thing down here if you want to give it a specific curve. I like to keep it all in one piece for lots of reasons. It's easier to keep track of your pieces if there's not like a million of them. But it also is better for fabric because a lot of times you can get more pieces out of your fabric when it's, you know, not a million little tiny pieces you're trying to fit together. So that's just the basic foot. You still don't well, I didn't draft up what the bottom would look like, but I can show you how to do that too if you'd like. So I'm going to take the piece of paper I had, find an open area that I think will be big enough, do the same thing again. Draw a line, score the line, and now I'm going to take a look at this foot. So probably the easiest way to do it, I always make sure I have Scotch tape on hand, and I make sure it's not too sticky so it's not going to ruin your paper. And very gently apply it to your pattern piece where you would sew it, like so, right? So now you can kind of see what the shape would be. And this is just to, and I'll fold the little notch back so it's not blocking the way. And this is just initial. This is just to get your initial sizing for what you want this foot to be. And then I set it down on top of this line. Okay? And then very lightly just kind of tracing around it. And it's not accurate, not even remotely, but it gives you like a starting point. And take the tape off. So now we have the starting point, right? You said you had a teardrop shape for the foot. You can basically force this area to make any shape you want, based on what you do with this piece right here. So if you go around, quickly sketch like this. That's a round one, right? But you said you have more of a teardrop. So let's go more like this. Now this right here is going to make like a point in the back of the foot when you go to stitch it. So the way to avoid doing that would be to round it off so that you hit that 90-degree angle again. Something more like this. So it's rounded, but it's thinner on the top half than it is on the bottom. If you want it to be more extreme, you can definitely give it more of an angle. But this is still just the initial size. So how do you know, oh, and this would be folded, so it would be obviously done on the other side when you cut it. So how do you know if this is going to fit this, right? So I'm going to show you how to walk a pattern, which is how you check your patterns. So we're just going to do 1/2 because it's going to be exactly the same on the other side. Because I work in an industry, 3/16 is the standard for all sewing, which is right here. So usually this space right here is the edge of your sewing foot. Some of them are more like a 1/4 inch, but usually I do 3/16. So when you're checking a pattern, there's different ways to do it, especially since you're starting out. I usually line up my, all right, it's kind of hard to see. I usually line up my ruler like this. See, it's on the 3/16 right there. And I put just a little dash right here. And I'll do that the whole way down. So the point of doing this is this right here is where your stitch line actually will be. I know a lot of pattern makers make it so it's the actual size of the plush and then cut outside the line. That's actually not the standard way to do it in the industry. You always do it with a stitch in mind, and you do that for a reason. So right here, see, this is where the 2 stitch lines are going to cross. So imagine the shape of the foot will actually be where the stitch line is. Okay, so in order to check it against this, you do the same thing. Just add little dashes so you can kind of see where the stitch line would wind up. Okay, and now we're going to measure this against this. So starting at the back of the foot, you're going to line it up like this. I do recommend, if you can get your hands on a light table, that's probably the easiest way to do this. They're pretty cheap. They're like 20 bucks on Amazon if you want to grab one. But basically, you're going to hold down, see my pencil, and I'm pivoting the piece right there. There's the edge of the drawing I made. Here's the corner, and I'm going to turn the piece like this, and now I can see the next section of line. So I'm going to scoot my pencil down and hold it, and turn it till I can see the next section. See, if I pull too far, you can see the line right there. And then I'm going to do the next turn. And this is how you walk a pattern. It's called walking a pattern. This is how you check to make sure that your pattern pieces are going to line up when you go to sew it. It saves you a lot of headache when your pattern pieces just magically line up. It's awesome. So then like that, and around, and I'm a little bit off. So see this line right here? See this line right here? It's off by about a 1/16. So, and don't feel bad if yours is off a lot. I've done this quite a bit. So in order to make up that 1/16, all you have to do is very, very slightly alter your line. And then that will alter this stitch line. And it'll give you your 1/16 back. So now you can cut out this piece. Again, I'm going to put the little notches in here. I'm going to do it for a couple of reasons, and I'll show you in a second why. Okay, so now you have this piece, and you have this piece. Oops, sorry. And that's one of your leg pieces. Okay, so the reason there's a notch here and here, when you go to, first thing you're going to stitch is this line right here, and then you're going to have that open bottom. Now this part up here, you line it up to the top notch, and the reason you left a notch on the back side of the leg was so it matches up with this notch. And when you go to pin it together, it'll fit perfectly together. I hope that was helpful for you. I'm gonna go ahead and upload this for you.